When WagerTalk acquired the iconic Gold Sheet, the goal was to turn it into a modern, user-friendly product providing high-quality content and data. We're well on our way to achieving just that, and we want to show you how far it's come. From Friday, December 24th through Sunday, January 2nd, enjoy free access to the Gold Sheet. Just head to goldsheet.com and sign in using username free@goldsheet.com and use password free to get access to our NFL, college football, NBA, and college basketball content for the entire week. No credit card, email, or registration is required. Check it out. And if you enjoyed the new and improved Gold Sheet like we know you will, lock in savings now and grab our 2022 football Gold Sheet for just $99. That's right, until January 1st, 2022, we're taking $100 off the regular price of $199. From all of us here at WagerTalk Sports Memo and the Gold Sheet, we wish you a wonderful holiday season and a prosperous new year.
Welcome into the best damn college football show out there, part of College Football Today. I am Drew Martin, along with Ralph Michaels, Robbie Veno from WagerTalk.com, two of the wisest minds in all of college football. Bowl betting, one of the best out there. Ralph's actually been killing it the last few years. I believe #1 at WagerTalk in bowl season. Ralph Michaels, stat daddy himself, at Cal Sports LV on Twitter. Ralph, welcome in, man. How you feeling?
Hey, doing great, guys. 69% from the last 4 years, a 6-2 start to this bowl season. So very happy with that. I do want to mention, if you're not on board, I have a special available. This was the special I gave out to my bowl package people, but I'm going to share it with this crowd. I do appreciate everyone tuning in this entire year. It's always a pleasure on Wednesday, Drew and Rob, to be here with you guys. And in advance, I'd like to wish you all a very safe and happy new year. But 30-day package, normally $299 at WagerTalk. You can get it for $177, save $122. That's less than $6 a day. Use code RM177, and that'll get you 30 days of all sports for $177. WT.buzz/RM.
We got Robbie Veno as well. Robbie, I'm pretty sure you've been good at bowl season. Hopefully you are. I went and looked. I've had a good year so far, but Ralph has been killing it. If you've been killing it, we've all been killing it, man. Happy Wednesday to you, man.
Happy Wednesday to you guys. Recent last 7 plays in bowls have been good. They're off to a 5-2 on a 5-2 run right now. And like Ralph, if Maryland should get there here, we could push that to 6-2. So let's all root for Maryland as we go through the games that we're going through here today. Overall, Drew, it's been really good. If I include the NBA and the NFL, last 3, 7, 30 days, all been good for me. So nothing to complain about here. And we'll look to keep that rolling.
We will look to keep it rolling. Talking about Friday and Saturday's action here, guys. Starting off first, we get a little MAC versus Pac-12 action with the Central Michigan Chippewas versus the Washington State Cougars. We're seeing Washington State minus a touchdown here, minus 7 points, 57.5 being the total here, Ralph. 12 noon Eastern start time, 9 a.m. Pacific on Friday in the Sun Bowl. And, of course, this is a change. Central Michigan was supposed to play in the Barstool Bowl game in Arizona, and Boise State drops out. The Sun Bowl recruits them, and sure enough, we get the matchup. So how much does that affect it overall, in your opinion, Ralph? And what's your overall handicap here, Central Michigan and Washington State?
Well, I think it's easier for Washington State to prepare for Central Michigan than it is for Central Michigan to have played Boise and now going to this offense. You know, you of course have the situation where you had to change coaches because the head coach didn't want to get a COVID shot, and the Oregon rules said that any state employee had to. Dicker takes over, does an incredible job, leads the team to 6 wins their last 9 games, gets the permanent job. Orgy is the one guy who had 12 of the 18 rush touchdowns that Washington State has had, but he is out as well as 2 defenders. But I like this. I like this defense. They've held opponents to 58% passing. And you look at Central Michigan, we know, Drew, anyone that watches this show knows that your favorite quarterback from South Miami, Daniel Richardson, 5'9", is it?
He's listed at 5'10".
5'10", my apologies. He's the guy now with a 23-5 ratio. Again, you have a big strength of schedule difference, but the matchup I have here with Washington State, I feel they're going to be able to get pressure. Central Michigan has gotten a decent amount of pressure. They've had 35 sacks, which is 1 point every 9.6% of the time the quarterback drops back. But this Washington State team gets rid of the ball so quickly, I think that hurts some of Central Michigan's strength on that D-line. I lean Washington State, and originally I was going to bet the over right when it came out, and I took a look at the weather, and the winds were 25 mile an hour plus in El Paso. I just looked before we got on the show. That weather right now, the forecast 2.5 days in advance, has winds at 10 to 12 miles an hour. I still might get to the over in this game, as I think both teams will be able to move the ball. But I give, even though Washington State's numbers are ugly down the stretch, they did play much better.
Sure. Good stuff, Ralph. And Rob, coming to you next, looking towards the over, I've always thought this with the short prep time. I think that helps offense, especially both of these two offenses. Daniel Richardson running around there. It's not like he's one of those quarterbacks that can kind of make things happen off the fly. And then Washington State tends to have a unique style of offense. So I do think that helps the offensive side of the football, looking towards the over here in the mid to high 50s right now. So maybe look towards the over. But what's your overall view here? Central Michigan and Washington State, Rob?
Yeah, I agree. Without getting deep into statistics here, guys, with a lot of what Ralph said, if you just look at the class difference, right? You got one team that's Power 5. You've got one team that comes from the MAC, which has absolutely been annihilated for the most part during this bowl season. MAC teams have not fared well, other than Miami of Ohio. I'm trying to think of another one. Western Michigan, of course, played well, but they got a depleted Nevada team. So we'll see. A strength of schedule, as Ralph mentioned, is something to consider. The significant edge in defense, where Washington State is concerned, is something other to consider. And I think the fact that, Washington State sees their share of dual threat quarterbacks in the Pac-12 might eliminate some of Daniel Richardson's effectiveness. It's interesting, guys. I think they'll both be motivated. Obviously, Central Michigan's motivated because their bowl game got canceled and they immediately looked to be a replacement team for this game. So we know they're coming to play. They closed the season very, very well against the spread. And actually, if you look at them first half, they were 6-0 against the spread in the first half, their last 6 games. However, you can contradict that with Washington State going 10-2 against the spread in the first half. So if we get 2 quick starts here, maybe this comes down to the second half. I would have to agree that in any bowl game that has a MAC defense participating, you immediately look toward the over. I think the stability that Washington State showed by retaining their interim head coach, he's a player favorite. I think that bodes well for WSU. Ralph talked about the difference from preparing for Boise State, which is much more of a balanced offense, and now coming into this, run and shoot style of offense. That's tough for Central Michigan, even though they see a lot of passing in that league. I tell you, the rain, and I know we never really abandon overs because of rain. The rain might be significant here in this particular game. Wind dies down a little bit, as Ralph said. I would probably look a little bit over, but I think more than that, probably Washington State. I just think in the end, their defense is far more capable of making a couple more stops than is that of Central Michigan.
I like it, Robbie. And Ralph, just a follow-up question to you. Robbie talked about, the MAC and bowl games not being good. Last year, they were actually decent, but the trend has been the MAC not faring so well in bowl season. Why do you think that is overall? Just talent alone? Because sometimes in the regular season, they'll surprise some people, but just kind of over the long term, they've struggled in bowl season. Do you have any reasons off the top of your head? I know you're big into the MAC.
Yeah, I mean, clearly, I mean, I'm going back maybe 4 years where I rank every conference. Sun Belt used to be last, 4 or 5 years ago. Hell, Sun Belt now to me is ahead of both the MAC and CUSA. So between the MAC and CUSA, I just have both of those as the bottom feeders of the conference. And you've gotten a lot of 6-6 teams in MAC action that have beaten each other up and have gotten in the bowls. So the problem is the MAC has so many teams that you have 6-6 teams with diluted records, where the Sun Belt has the shortened amount of teams until they expand next year. And so when those teams are winning, I think they're just better quality teams at the end of the year.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Kind of the top of the Sun Belt there. It is really good, actually. Louisiana Lafayette, Coastal Carolina, those type of teams.
App State, and they're not those three are all as good as any MAC team. I mean,
so makes total sense. Hey, Robbie, anything quick here before we move down?
Yeah, I think just a simple answer to the teams that you guys just rattled off. Look how they're built. I mean, the physicality of UL Lafayette, the way Billy Napier built it on the offensive line and the defensive line. The MAC really doesn't have those teams. They get out-muscled, they get out-physicaled, and it starts in the trenches, and I think that's a big reason why they just don't compete as well. UL Lafayette had those players. Appalachian State has those players, even though I think Appalachian gets pushed around a little bit more than Lafayette. But I would say that's the biggest difference, guys. They just don't stand up at the point of attack.
Okay, I like it. Ralph Michaels, Robbie Veno, I am Drew Martin. Guys, it's the best damn college football show. Something good that came out of 2020. We started this breaking down the conferences and during the COVID times, and sure enough, we're still going strong 2 years later. We get Arkansas, Penn State up next, 45 being the total. We're seeing Penn State open -4 on the graphic, as you see, guys, but we've seen a huge line move here, Rob Veno. Arkansas now primarily -1 point favorites. Saturday, January 1st, 12 noon Eastern in the Outback Bowl, Tampa, Florida. Robbie, what are you like in SEC Big Ten action?
Well, I'll say this in regards to the line move. And I don't know what Ralph's power ratings were on this game on a neutral field, but initially my power ratings were Arkansas, Penn State, pick'em. So I thought the line was way out of whack from the beginning. So for it to come all the way to pick'em doesn't surprise me at all. Comes all the way to -1 because Penn State's got a whole boatload of key opt-outs and they're missing a defensive coordinator. If we go through that stuff real quick, Brent Pry, their defensive coordinator, jumped ship, took the head coaching job at Virginia Tech. He's not going to coach this game. Leaves Penn State in a little bit of a lurch. But even more than that, the defensive players that they've lost here to opt-outs, their top 2 linebackers, who also are their top 2 leading tacklers, and their team captain, starting strong safety, Jaquan Brisker, who's the 4th leading tackler on the team. So you lose leading tacklers 1, 2, and 4 combined. Those guys made 245 tackles this year. It's a lot of defense to lose in your back 7. I think that poses a problem for this team. You add to it that their NFL wide receiver, Jahan Dotson, has opted out. I guess maybe, if you wanted to say one negates the other, Treylon Burks for Arkansas has opted out as well, their top wide receiver. But these defensive issues for Penn State, or these defensive opt-outs for Penn State, could present real issues here. I think there's some significant key advantages for Arkansas in this game if we just look at the fundamentals and how it's played on the field. Penn State's run defense versus the Arkansas ground game. Penn State's run defense has not been what it was predicted to be to start the season, right? You have Wisconsin, Auburn, Illinois, 357 yards, Ohio State, Michigan, and Michigan State. Those 6 teams, Michigan only ran for 144. The other 5 ran for 161 yards or more against this Penn State defense. And we know Sam Pittman, head coach of Arkansas, offensive line guy, they love to run the football. I could see that happening here against this Penn State defensive front, especially with the 2 guys missing at the linebacker positions who were making all the tackles. I think the other thing that is problematic for Penn State is that they didn't face a dual threat quarterback with the running ability of KJ Jefferson. The only guy, as I went back, that they faced that's a significant dual threat quarterback that can use his mobility was Bo Nix. And in that Auburn game, Auburn ran for 182 yards and in a whiteout almost beat Penn State that night. Maybe should have beat Penn State that night. So I think KJ Jefferson is going to present. I know you get 15 practices and you get a lot of prep time, a lot of film time to watch these guys, but I don't know. I think KJ Jefferson could have a big day as that third piece running the football here for Arkansas. If I just flip the coin to the other side of the trenches, Penn State's running game has been garbage all season long. 107 yards per game, 3.1 per carry, Big Ten defenses that can stop the run, stop this team. Arkansas is not the greatest run defense in the world, but they do play in the SEC West against real good competition. Overall this year, they only allowed in the 150s rushing yardage per game. Sean Clifford, again, a dual threat quarterback. To present the case for him that I presented for KJ Jefferson, Arkansas has seen more of it. You see Matt Corral. They saw Bo Nix, and they held Auburn to 135 rushing yards in that game. So I don't think it's that new to the Arkansas defense here. Last thing I'll point to real quick that I think favors Arkansas or maybe doesn't favor Penn State is the fact that that last game, regular season finale against Michigan State, was horrible for Penn State, and maybe a reason why some guys opted out. They faced as banged up of a Michigan State team as they could possibly face, a team that was off by monster loss to Ohio State. And you know what? Penn State got beat in that game, gave up 30-plus points. So I think Arkansas is the right side here, guys, minus the point.
Okay, good stuff, Robbie. And Ralph, coming to you next, we do get the SEC and Big Ten. Robbie brings up the fact that they had a common opponent in Auburn. Penn State beat them, Arkansas lost. However, I guess like Robbie touched on, that was a great game in Penn State. Could have gone either way. Great atmosphere in that one in the whiteout. Penn State did beat them, so maybe there's a little nod here towards the Nittany Lions, but definitely the market not thinking so. Money coming in here on the Razorbacks. What are you liking, Woo Pig Suey or the Nittany Lions?
Well, just going back to the Auburn game, yes, Penn State won and Arkansas lost. Arkansas had a 460 to 427 yard edge. They were plus 33 yards. Penn State was plus 29 yards. So, one little thing happened in the game to change it, but the people on the field actually were almost the exact same performance. I'm not going to add much else. Arkansas has an NFL player out and the wide receiver out. Penn State has more guys out. And I'm going to bring up that SEC is 10-2 ATS as a dog, and people are going to jump on me and say, hey, idiot, the line moved. They're a favorite. But I don't look that way. When these lines come out and you start to prep for your bowl, you're an underdog or a favorite. Once you get into bowl preps a few days before the games, you're not paying attention to those lines. So Arkansas traveled to this bowl game thinking they are an underdog, and I think they have that mentality. And I clearly think that helps them in this role. Arkansas is on my card. It's one of my all-access client plays. I agree with what Rob said. I don't need to cover anything else. Arkansas wins this game. Obviously, they're laying a point and a half now, but the running attack, one person said to me, well, look at Penn State's defense. You said it's not that good. They only allow 3.5 yards per carry, but we have to point out this. You played Ball State, held them to 2.7. Villanova held them to 2.2. Indiana, you held them to 2.9. Maryland to 1.5, and Rutgers to 2.1. So, yeah, you had a good rush defense against dredges of offenses that were, number 100 and higher, or FCS teams. But against the quality foes, I think Arkansas can move the ball.
All right, looking towards the Razorbacks in that one. Guys, we got one game left. We'll get final thoughts and best bets at the end. We just talked about a game going 12 noon on New Year's Day. We got this one going 1 p.m. Saturday, January 1st. Oklahoma State and Notre Dame here, Ralph. We're seeing the Irish -2.5 or -2, depending where you're shopping. 45.5 being the total. Talk about, some of the best matchups outside of the playoff. This has an argument to be it. Two really good teams, Oklahoma State, Notre Dame, kind of hangover time slot here on New Year's Day. What are you liking, Ralph, between the Cowboys and the Irish?
Well, it's simple. I have Oklahoma State as my fourth best team in my power ratings. I think they're the better team. I think their defense is elite. 53 sacks, one every 13.7 times. You look at the games, Cohen was sacked 6 times against Wisconsin, but that game blew up. They haven't gotten a lot of pressure. Against Toledo, they were sacked 6 times. So to have this D-line come in and to prep for them, I think it is night and day. Yes, Spencer Sanders, a 16-12 ratio, not good. That's why Oklahoma State lost to Iowa State, and that's why they lost to Baylor. But I just have this with the coaching edge, with the stability, with the way that defense is playing. I am on Oklahoma State. I will say this one interesting thing. We all know DC Knowles has done an absolute incredible job. He is going to turn that Ohio State Buckeyes into a mean defense with who they can recruit. So why would Knowles stay and coach this game for OSU instead of going to play for his new OSU, Ohio, to go start prepping for this Ohio State? Well, guess what? Ohio State opens against Notre Dame next year. Knowles preps for Notre Dame this game, and he's going to be ready for having prepped for Notre Dame, the season opener, Ohio State, Notre Dame next year.
Good matchup here, Robbie. Cowboys and Irish. What are you liking here? Irish short favorites in the Fiesta Bowl.
Well, I'll say this. Our good friend and colleague, Joe Ranieri, who is an alum of the Cowboys, told me a week and a half, 2 weeks ago that there's no way Oklahoma State's excited for this game. I don't know that I agree, guys. I think the excitement level is going to be there on both sides here. I think the motivation to win is big here for both these teams. However, all that being said, where motivation and excitement is concerned, I kind of lean toward Marcus Freeman and Notre Dame. And it seemed to me that a lot of that coaching staff, in just reading quotes, and some of those players were good riddance. Thank God Brian Kelly's out of here. And they seem far more excited to play for this guy than they were for him. And they were a good team under Brian Kelly. Maybe more out of fear than wanting to play for the guy, but they were a good team under Brian Kelly. They have 2 key opt-outs here. Kyle Hamilton, their free safety, is, in my estimation, one of your top 10 picks in the NFL draft next year. We'll see. Guys like him don't come along that often to be his size, to have his speed, to have his range. It's a big loss. He was out for most of the second half of the year for Notre Dame, and there was a little bit of drop-off in their pass defense. They lose Kyron Williams, their top running back. However, the backup Chris Tyree, if they change uniform numbers, these guys look the same. They really do. I like Williams. I think he's an NFL back, but Tyree's a little faster, and I think he can get the job done here. If, in fact, I had any confidence in Spencer Sanders throwing the football against Notre Dame without Hamilton, I'd probably be on the Oklahoma State side. But I just don't have any confidence in this guy. He never developed. In 3 years, he hasn't developed. So I'm all out on Spencer Sanders. That doesn't mean I'm all in on Jack Cohen either, because you could throw that right back at the argument against Sanders. Jack Cohen's no great shakes. Got some good wide receivers. He has his moments like Sanders does, so maybe that's a wash. Jim Knowles, I think, is huge. Ralph pointed it out. For him to stay, he took the Ohio State job, but he's the developer of this defense, the best defense Mike Gundy's had in Stillwater during his tenure. That's a big plus for them. The sack numbers that Ralph brought up for Oklahoma State, you could certainly combat by saying Notre Dame has 39 sacks on the year, 7 against Virginia, 6 against Georgia Tech, 3 against Purdue, 3 against USC, 3 against UNC. I probably should scratch the UNC mentioning them because the offensive line didn't protect Sam Howell all season long. But I mentioned the others because Brennan Armstrong's a very mobile quarterback, like Sanders. They got him 7 times. Georgia Tech is a very mobile quarterback. They got him 6 times. USC gets the ball out quick in air raid. They got him 3 times. Purdue gets the ball out quick in their offense. They got him 3 times. So I can see them getting Sanders here, no question about it. To me, it's probably more of an underplay. Oklahoma State has trended that way for the majority of the season. I think that probably holds up here. Freeman's a defensive-minded guy. I think Notre Dame's defense is going to be really good in this game. So maybe a small lean sidewise Notre Dame, Drew, but I think more than that, I would take total under.
Okay, I could see that, Robbie. Two good defense, especially that Oklahoma State defense, like Ralph talked about. Guys, we do have best bets coming up. Ralph, Robbie, myself. Huge shout out to the chat box here. We got Frenchie Bets, Gonzo, G Mode, all you guys in the house. Some questions as well. Actually, we could throw it around the horn here with final thoughts and best bets. I'll just shout out some of the questions. If you guys got anything on them, feel free to shout it out. Here, starting off here, Gonzo saying, what about Clemson today? We also have question about anybody liking anything for halftime of the Maryland game. Ralph, we were talking about this, and Robbie, Maryland, Virginia Tech guys actually going on while we're doing the show, and it's 21-10, Maryland on top with the football with about 50 seconds left. So if you got any halftime bets, feel free to shout them out here for the guys watching live. But going around the horn, Ralph, follow him on Twitter at CalSportsLV, always putting out good information. His stuff at WagerTalk.com, #1 in college football bowls going back multiple years here, guys. So, Ralph, anything on those questions, a best bet, and any final thoughts for the show here?
You know, I don't bet halftime or live unless I'm watching and paying attention to a game, because scores can be so misleading. So I've had it on, I've been doing work, and I haven't watched it close enough. I will say this is a whole nother subject. About the only sport that I will bet half times without watching a game is college basketball, when a better team is shooting a horrendous number from threes in the first half, or when a very poor quality team is shooting an exorbitant amount of threes. You know, let's say they go 7 of 10 and they're traditionally a 25% shooting team. Those are the only situations where I automatically fade when I look at box scores for college hoops. So my best bet, clearly, Arkansas is my play. I am on Arkansas. I'm also on Clemson today. I think Clemson crushes them. I think we have a motivated team against a team with many opt-outs and many guys going to the NFL. Clemson, as far as I know, I didn't get the update yesterday or today, but no opt-outs, no people leaving to prep for the NFL. And to me, this is game #1 for Dabo Swinney going into next season.
All right. Ralph Michaels, there it is. Best bets. We got Robbie Veno as well. Anything on the questions here, Robbie? Final thoughts and your best bet, man?
Yeah, I'm actually riding with a Maryland full game play, so I don't know that I would get involved in halftime. I think they're actually on the march here. Or no, there's 4 seconds left in the half right now as we speak. An opportunity to score. Maybe they're going to try a field goal. I can't tell what's going on. But I wouldn't get involved only because I've got the game right now, and the game seems to be doing well. So we'll see if we can ride that out. Clemson later, I could totally see that side. I think we discussed that game, guys, last week when we were on. Anybody who wants our analysis for that Clemson-Iowa State game can just go back into the archives and get it. Ralph, I, and you, Drew, all covered that game. I think best bet-wise, Ralph is on Arkansas. I will just second that. I'll be on Arkansas. But to play something different other than Arkansas, I would probably lean toward Oklahoma State, Notre Dame under. This is of games we talked about today. I gave you all the reasons why, guys, that I think both of these defensive lines will get pressure on the passer. Don't really trust either quarterback. Oklahoma State's been very pedestrian all season long and have trended toward under. Marcus Freeman ought to have his team really psyched up here. So I'm going to say under the total. Oklahoma State, Notre Dame. I'm trying to look as we speak right now. I think that number is 40, mostly 45 and a half. So if you can get yourself, let's use 24-20. I don't want to get too close. I don't want to shave it too close, but 24-20 is a ceiling, which I think is very doable. We can stay under. And they did make a field goal, guys, real quick, 24-10 Maryland.
Yeah, coming
There's
to
nothing
the
worse
end of the
than
half,
being behind
zeros.
another guy watching the game and telling you what happens before it happens on my TV. Everything.
Well, put a smile on your face,
Vegas,
Ralph. So it's a good. It was a good spoil because you're happy about it.
Yeah, that's true.
In-game live wagering, guys. Always make sure your cable network, whatever you're using, at least not too big of a delay if you're going to take it too seriously. We get Oregon, Oklahoma tonight, guys. I like Oklahoma -7. I agree with this line move. Liked it more at 4. Do like it at 7. I just think this Oregon team, they got manhandled by Utah twice against the better teams. I don't know that they showed that well. And Mario Cristobal, I got to just say, the sketchy way he's leaving the Ducks program, going to visit his sick mom in Miami and then a week later becoming the University of Miami head coach. I don't think that sits well. And I know Oklahoma lost their coach as well. I just think it was a little bit more under the belt there for the Ducks program and Oklahoma overall. I mean, their 2 losses, against Oklahoma State and Baylor, both on the road. That's nothing to shake your hat at. I think that their resume actually pretty strong. They get the quarterback position covered, still have athletes on the outside. So I think that they cover the 7 tonight in the nightcap, 9:15 Eastern in the Alamo Dome. So that does it for the show, guys. Ralph Michaels, Rob Veno, Drew Martin, the final best damn college football show out there. Pens up, boys. We'll be back next year as well. So best of luck with your bets until then. Huge shout out to the chat box. Feel free to reply below with any questions. We'll be out there throughout the rest of the week answering them. So for Ralph, Rob, I am Drew. Thanks for tuning in. Best of luck and Happy New Year.
WagerTalk continues to be an innovator in this industry, and our WagerBucks program is just one example. Because it's the holidays and we're feeling festive, we're giving you $100 worth of WagerBucks for only $49 using promo code WB49 at checkout. So how do they work? It's simple. You buy credits in bulk at a discounted rate and then apply them dollar for dollar towards your purchase. Use your purchase WagerBucks on $2 Tuesday, $9 packages on Monday. Buy your favorite 5% plays with or without the guarantee. Grab a 7-day all-access pass or even a 12-month package. That's right, purchase WagerBucks can be used on everything with no restrictions at both WagerTalk and SportsMemo.com. Due to the incredible savings, this special offer is limited to 1 per customer. From all of us here at WagerTalk, Sports Memo, and the Gold Sheet, we wish you a wonderful holiday season and a prosperous new year.